Hi everybody, it's Dara, and I am so very happy to introduce and reintroduce, because he's been here before, Ramania, and he is our Master Taoist herbalist, and we are so very connected over all things Chinese herbs because I have been doing a raw food diet for about 9 years.
Yeah.
A couple of years. Yeah, right. There's right. It's true, kind of. And I started intuitively just mixing tonic herbs because it felt right. It sounded right.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting you, and we were at Rossum. And
wow, the famous Rossum.
I know.
It'll be back. We'll get it back.
We'll get it back. So the thing is that I remember hearing from different people, they say that Chinese practitioners say, oh, don't follow a raw food diet, it's too damp. But I was able to do it because, intuitively, because of these tonic herbs.
Yeah.
That's where I met and heard you. So you were the first person that I heard who was into all the Chinese herbs and a master Taoist herbalist saying, yes, the raw food diet, and let's take these. So if you want to say a bit about that.
They make a perfect, the tonic herbs taken in responsibly formulated tea recipe for you, for your needs, taken along with the raw food diet, I believe, I will stand by, I believe, is a perfect, near perfect dietary regimen. Along with, of course, you're getting your right nutrition for you, understanding fats and proteins and starches and what you need, and then the raw food diet in particular, as you said. The Chinese doctors are right in saying that its potential, that many women in particular, not so much men, can retain the moisture and get bloated here from water edema. Then the Chinese doctors call that damp spleen, because they say that the spleen or the spleen meridian or system is the governor of the digestive metabolism. And that's like that burner on the stovetop underneath the stomach. It's a pot of tea.
Right.
You want that burner warm and you want it dry. And if it gets damp around here, you're like throwing water on the stovetop.
So let's say that again. So the spleen is like the burner underneath the stomach that is warming.
Yes, a meridian they call the spleen, but it includes the pancreas, the duodenum, small intestine, and the stomach itself.
We want that warm.
We want it warm and dry.
Dry.
Yeah. Now most guys, because of us and hormone, the way we synthesize androgen hormones and stuff, we kind of stay dry. We metabolize off fluids. But women, being yin, basically, yin is like water, absorbing and can hold that moisture.
And maybe
here.
some men too.
Some guys go out this way.
Right.
Get
and we kind of go.
Women go wide here a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's moisture retention, and so the raw food diet can be contraindicated for such women in that case. But what I found was that if we combine elixirs, which the Chinese have known about, and they've written about it in their Materia Medica, they've designed formulas that have been used over centuries to warm and dry the spleen. And so I thought, well, hey, instead of using this as after someone has got damp spleen and trying to help them, what if it were used as an adjunct to the raw food diet to kind of keep that little flame warm down there? So
that we could detoxify, because right now, 4,000 years ago, things were different. 1,000, 2,000 years ago. Now we have so many pollutants in our environment, it's absolutely essential that we detoxify. We need the raw food to kind of clean us out and nourish ourselves. So we've been talking about this for a while. Our last video was so popular. It was just really, it is still popular.
And by the way, I have a book coming out on that very subject. It's coming out on North Atlantic Books. It's called Raw Chi. It's coming out on September 30th for my birthday. We're going to have a party at Rawvolution.
Oh, I'll be there.
Yeah, you've got to be there.
That's so exciting.
Make sure you're there.
I will be there, and some of us will be there, some of our family. But we've been talking, like, each time, the time when we ended our last segment, we said we're going to talk about sex, or we're going to talk about menopause, or I want to talk about both, but today...
Talking about both is going to be a big piece.
Right, so we're going to take menopause today, because we'll, you know, that's an interesting subject, because a lot of women who watch this channel are reaching that age, and I know I'm not there. I mean, I'm 47, and I feel fantastic, and I'm still regular. So I attribute that to my raw food diet, that I don't have symptoms, and I don't feel strange.
That's right.
And I feel like that's a part of it.
A big culprit in the creation of what we call symptoms of this, which shouldn't exist at all.
Really?
No. It should be a glazing right into the ultimate period of a woman's empowerment, in my opinion. Women are incredibly empowered all the way through their lives, through through the fertility period where they can be God and give birth to a life. I mean, wow, I mean, we can't do that. I envy that. We can give birth to a great painting or something. That's what God's trying to do.
Or to books.
Yeah, or a book or whatever. But women can bear a life. Now, so that's a great form of empowerment. But then there's that period, that roughly 30-year period in a woman's life, is somewhat defined in that period by what I call the master gardener of life. She's up there, and you might call it God, whatever, whoever creates life, right? The cycles of a woman's life are these distinct cycles, so that baby making period is a very empowering cycle for the woman. She's hormonally driven to create life and then to nourish it, right?
Right.
Now, when a woman goes into what we call midlife or whatever, which we'll explain like hormonally why that kind of goes there in a minute, but I believe the woman comes into her ultimate power then. And to me, it's a sad thing that our society does not recognize this, but we will. We'll get there.
It's changing.
If I could,
Yes.
if I could have things the way I would like them to be, I would suggest that when a woman reaches that premenopausal period, she is immediately eligible for public politics.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Marianne Williams.
Yeah,
I was wearing
yeah,
her T-shirt today. Like beautiful, conscious,
yes.
in their power.
The reason
women.
for that is because once a woman goes beyond or past those child-rearing years, hormones shift and wind up creating a balance between the feminine hormones and a little bit more of the androgen-type hormones start to dominate, so that the adrenals can keep health going.
What are
and
some of the
woman,
androgen?
More of the the hormones that are associated with male, with defense.
Testosterone.
Yeah, and then the woman then becomes more of a matriarchal figure in the whole clan.
Yes.
Now, the reason that nature designed it this way is because when a woman gets to the end of her fertility period in the eggs, there's about 30,000 eggs in the ovaries when a girl goes into menarche, about 13 or so. And then about 100 eggs come out of the ovaries with each ovulation, each month. And so a woman has about 30 years of this egg releasing out of the ovary. When that 30 years is done, Mother Nature designed it so that would cessate at that point in time because of two primary reasons. One, the woman still has presumably at least 18 years left of her life to raise the youngest child that she bared. Right? So she has at least 18 years left of her life, and hopefully a lot more, as we know. And with raw food, we can do a lot more than that. But then the other reason is because, ideally, the woman, now her children have had children, so now she has to become the governess of a larger clan. So now she has to also dedicate some of her attention to the grandchildren, raising them too, helping the parents raise the grandchildren. And in a civil society, the grandparents help raise the grandchildren, while the parents go hunter-gatherer and whatever they got to do, and unfortunately they have to go to offices and sit in there now. And so the grandparents are called upon, so that the grandmother then has to deal with a larger clan. And in order for her to deal with this larger clan, she's got to deal with Uncle Joe eating the pie over there, and little kids making a mess over here. So she, hey, and the voice had to drop a little bit,
You're so right. It's so funny.
You get out of that pie over there, hey kids.
She's not right.
So she's no longer. It can't be. Well, honey, it can't be so close. It's got to be you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be like that and sound like that blunt, but it's just.
Kind of funny,
so that's where when women get their power to stand up and say, I represent not just my nuclear family any longer. Now I see that the whole human race is a family in my family, right?
Right.
And that's why they would make great politicians and stuff like that.
And perhaps at that point they need to start caring for their parents too. So they're not only overseeing Uncle Joe eating the pie and the baby and the breastfeeding, they're also taking a look at, okay, my parents need X, Y, Z.
Yeah, so, you got all the cousins and aunts and uncles and everybody all there, and so you have to become the governors of
It's
a
amazing
clan,
what kind of power you get at this age. You feel so empowered. You feel so wise.
It is the most empowering time, I think.
Agree.
I mean, I should say all periods of a woman's life. I particularly love that period of a young girl. I mean, that energy, that just beautiful, abundant energy of a young girl. And then, of course, during the child-rearing years of a woman, I mean, gosh, I'm a man. I mean, and that hormone dance is incredible that goes through between men and women. And if we could get all that straight, which we will soon, we'll have a wonderful society.
We'll have a really wonderful society when everybody can be who they really are. Wouldn't
Yeah,
that be nice?
yeah.
Then we're on our way.
So let me briefly explain. When I wrote this book, Healing Thresholds, I started writing it in 2002. It took me about 10 years to write it, and I did a lot of research during that time because I wanted to find out what is this that women go through this. Because you see, I saw my mother go through this. When I was like 7 or 8 years old, I was pretty young, and I saw my mother go through that change, and it was really hard on her. And I recognized at that time that it was stress that was making her change so difficult. And then little by little, I sought in the rest of my life to understand what is going on here. Why do women go through this? Do they all have to go through this incredible, tumultuous period in their lives? Is this inevitable?
Hot flashes and upset, or they get stuff cut out because it's bad. And
oh yeah, and so I said no, it can't be. There must be some explanations for why this. And then some of the first gleanings I had was when I read about indigenous tribes and how women who live in places like the rainforest and things who have no stress, they don't even recognize any shift in their lives through these periods.
Really? No. That's how I want it.
And so, well, see, you just said that you're not feeling this. It's because I'm interpreting that you have managed to create a life that is not really stressful.
I keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
I declutter, I simplify, I detoxify. I also am of the belief system that we are the makers of our own health destiny. And so if I choose to not have that, I am not having it.
Exactly. We create our destiny, right? Yeah. But we have allies. We have allies. Like
well, this is the
raw
thing.
Food are our allies.
I want everybody to know that, like, you guys see me making tonics, and I know how to make things taste really good. And if you want to have, and I always recommend that people call Romania, because you can have something, you can tell him, what's going on with you, and he will say, I suggest this blend, and then you get to make that beautiful brew and make it especially for you.
Yeah.
I'm due for another.
Oh, yes,
he tests
right.
here. He tests, or you can do it over the phone as well.
Well, okay, so going back to, after seeing this happen to my mother, I said, I want to find out, how I can help alleviate this issue. So I did do a lot of research in the time of writing this book. And, and I came across the work primarily of a doctor named John Arledi, who wrote those books. They're called What Your Doctor May Not Tell You About PMS, What Your Doctor May Not Tell You About Menopause. Those are very insightful books. And he was the pioneer of that progesterone cream that women put into their arms to supplement progesterone. And his research is very wonderful in understanding hormone synthesis. So if we understand hormone synthesis and the effects that stress has on the adrenals, which are involved in hormone synthesis, then we get to the root of all these shifts in how we support them being their most healthy. So let me briefly go to a little bit of hormone synthesis.
Okay.
During the child-rearing years, a woman goes into ovulation in the middle of the month. Now, prior to that, it's a period called the ovular phase. So the eggs are kind of maturing. There's about 100 eggs that mature at that time. And then at ovulation, they rupture out of the ovaries, and they enter into the very end of the fallopian tube, and they wait for some little sperms to swim from like here to San Francisco up there, and by their size. And so they sit right in the end. They want to make that sperm work to get there, and that's part of like how life's thriving needs to be. Yes, right. Anyway, so these 100 eggs rupture out of the ovaries. Yeah. Now, in that little rupture spot is called the corpus luteum, I believe it is, and that is the little spot where progesterone is then secreted into the bloodstream from those little rupture sites where the egg came out. So at ovulation, the progesterone rises for women, and that triggers what we call the luteal phase. That's when the woman is fertile and can be impregnated. And this is when a woman feels most voluptuous and sexy, And when a girl's ovulating, she suddenly feels warmer. She wants to go dancing. They got a feels good about herself. Like, wants to get outside, and be seen a little bit.
We don't think about it like that.
Playing the dance,
Yeah, that's so funny. We're just like, I feel good. Yeah.
Well, actually, Dr. Leonard Swain, one of my favorite writers. There's the planes again.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah. Dr. Leonard Shlain, in a wonderful book called Sex, Time, and Power,
yes.
He said that that women at some point, like back during Paleolithic times, developed what's called cryptic ovulatory cycles, so that they could hide their ovulations from men, so that they could choose when they wanted to be pregnant and choose when they decided.
Really?
They could choose themselves when they wanted to have babies instead of just randomly, like all other animals when they ovulate. It's like the males are like,
And it's
but women manage to hide it a little bit. Okay. Although the pheromones of love do emit from the ovulating woman and the male, but they're subconscious of it. But that dance is occurring in the nightclub, with the ovulating female and the male. As there's definitely kind of subconscious energies that are going on. They're very powerful that drive us. Those sexual.
That people are mostly unaware of. I think it's fascinating.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
But it's fascinating to look at conversely how those hormones drive like us so much. Our activities and.
It's almost comical if you look at it that way. It's kind of funny and
it really is. It really is. The man wants to build the biggest castle so he can attract the most desirable woman, and the woman waits to watch the man who builds the biggest castle so he can safely be the father of a family inside the safe place, right? So it kind of goes like that, and so that's how power sort of works, and it drives the building of skyscrapers and castles.
And this age kind of start to go, well, I got my castle, and it's interesting what happens to the dance between men and women at a different age.
Well, I'm kind of speaking under ideal circumstances, I would say, is that when you really look at this fertility dance, you want the male operating off of those androgen hormones out there, chasing down dinner and guarding the castle gate and building the castle. And you want the woman to be a voluptuous woman who is safely rearing a healthy family inside and nurturing the man when he comes home. I don't mean to say sequestering like society like that. Right. I'm just saying naturally women need to be made to feel safe. Yes. It's the man who's supposed to deal with stress, the acute stresses of life. Women are not supposed to deal with stresses. Now that part's got switched around. Now women are dealing with all the stresses and men are dropping the spears.
Yes.
And the women are doing the management level, everything, plus rearing children, and so yes, having to practically build and maintain the house too.
Yes.
And so this is also contributing to why the hormones are getting disrupted at menopause, right? Because of those stresses. So let me get into hormone synthesis, and we'll get there.
Go ahead.
Okay, so at ovulation, when the eggs come out of the ovaries, 100 eggs or so come out. There's about 30,000 eggs in the ovaries when a girl goes into menarche. So a woman has about 30 years of ovulations, of about 100 eggs each time. And then when those eggs rupture out of the ovary, the corpus luteum secretes the progesterone into the system. The woman's feminineness is heightened. She gets warm. She warms up about 1 degree. Wants to go dancing. Got a little glow in the cheeks, right? And so those pheromones are coming out of the skin. And so then the fertility dance is going on like that. Now, so a woman roughly has about 30 years of that activity hormonally going on. And then at the end of that 30-odd years, the eggs in the ovaries have reached a peak, kind of a peak egg thing. There's not that many left. So a woman there may be enough eggs rupturing out of the ovaries to trigger an ovulation, or there may not. And then eventually in time, ovulation might not be triggered. So then what happens at that point is the woman presumably has some children, or else, I guess it doesn't matter anymore in this world today whether she chooses that or not. But at that point in time, what happens is when the eggs are not coming out of the ovaries, then that ovulation isn't triggered. So progesterone is not flooded into the system. Okay. Now at that point in time is when a woman can start to supplement a little bit of what we call precursors to progesterone, which are called diastegens. And this yam right here,
this is
Dioscorea, the wild yam. They make those creams and stuff out of. This has diastegens, which are precursors to progesterone. And so progesterone is very important in female in that voluptuous. This
has progesterone in it?
Yes. Well, it has precursors to progesterone. I can't actually say it has progesterone. It's not supposed to.
Yeah.
It triggers your body's production of progesterone. Yeah, or it helps fortify that, or helps nourish. And so then that's the you know, hormone is progesterone is the master female hormone of the feminine nurturing of life and everything. And progesterone, being a master hormone, is further up in the hormone synthesis chain. Now, the three primary estrogens are synthesized from progesterone. They're called estrone, estradiol. The three primary estrogens.
Okay.
And so they are synthesized from progesterone, and then after those primary estrogens are then deliver their hormonal message to the cells, they are removed and excreted from the body through the urine. There's no more hormone synthesis from them. They're at the bottom of the chain. So if we want to regulate and maintain hormonal balance, or reproductive hormones, Dr. John Lee said, and I agree with him, we go up the chain to progesterone, and we support that. Then our body can help our body regulate its own estrogen metabolism and needs, estrogenic needs. But we need to go up to and support, you know, having progesterone. Now here's what happens. I was saying earlier with stress. When women are under stress, progesterone is kind of pulled over and cross-synthesized and cross-synthesized into androgen defense hormones. So a woman's femininity is being robbed in a sense to have to go ahead defend herself in this world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these women are going, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Most.
And so what we need to do is we need to avoid stress so that those female hormones of nurturing and loving femininity can maintain that you know, more parasympathetic action in the body, keeping you happy and beautiful and all that, and not all this like having to be male-like.
Yes.
You don't want the muscles having to be tense and all that. It's not female-like. We men should not ever allow or have a woman have to feel that way, because that's then robbing the progesterone. And if progesterone is pulled away from synthesizing estrogens and over to more of the androgen hormones, osteoporosis can occur.
It robs the calcium.
It robs. Well, progesterone is very important in bone density.
Okay.
And so it's funny how these look like bones, huh?
Oh my gosh, they do. I was going to say they look like little bones. So progesterone is involved.
So when women are under stress, progesterone is drawn away from the feminine needs of the body to defend and then herself, and that is one of the roots of why the bones aren't supported as well. Osteoporosis can happen with midlife women who are under stress.
That's interesting.
You know, I mean,
it's
tragic in a sense that we have a society where women who can feel like they're being left behind at that time in their life, and with those stresses, no way. And those stresses on the heart can cause, you know, the osteoporosis, the bone density loss. That's why osteoporosis is so prominent in midlife and
I also heard,
women.
I was reading Dr. Andreas Morit's book on liver gallbladder flushes, and they say that if your liver isn't working properly and your gallbladder is full of stones and your liver has stones in it, then the bioproduction isn't dissolving the fat, and the fat is involved in the calcium, involved in bone density as well. So there's a whole lot of things that we are needing to clean up from, but this...
Well, okay, yes, you're right. And then that reminds me, going back to this, to progesterone and its importance in the body, progesterone must synthesize and regulate estrogen. Then estrogen, your naturally produced estrogen in your body occupies the estrogen receptor sites on cells, delivers its hormonal message, it's removed, the receptor site is available, progesterone produces new estrogens to take, or new estrogen is synthesized from progesterone, to take the new message there about. You got those receptor sites are occupied. Now, if progesterone becomes in short supply in the body because it's being drawn over from stress, it leaves these receptor sites open. And they can then be occupied by what we call xenoestrogens, which are molecules from pollutants that mimic and have the same structure as estrogen.
Oh my gosh.
They get into the fat. They mix with, because they're fat-soluble molecules, so they mix with and bind with fats in the body, which in the mammary glands, for instance, and we get, you know, xenoestrogens building up in the mammary glands.
Breast cancer, they say. And that's when they say don't drink out of plastic bottles and don't have too much soy because certain things build your xenoestrogen.
Yeah.
Xeno.
Soy has phytoestrogens that when fermented, like miso and stuff, is good.
I have natto in the refrigerator.
Fermented soy. The Asian people never really ate soy much unless it was fermented, and they figured it out a long time ago. Right. Stuff like your non-GMO organic miso, which you can get, it's really good stuff. Yeah. Its chemistry changes and it's good.
It's different than the packaged soy milk that's from genetically modified, all that. But anyway,
this yam, the Chinese have always used it. We put it in tea, and so we make a formula and I actually think that women of all ages can benefit from this now, just for a little bit of progesterone support. Because of all the xenoestrogens out there all over the place, we can block that stuff, you know.
Perfumes and whatnot. Do you know there's a scene in Sex and the City, the movie, where Samantha, she's one of the girls who's 50, and she ends up in Abu Dhabi, and they confiscated her, whatever you're talking about, the hormone enhancements that she was taking to make herself feel better, and she just started eating yams.
I think those purple yams are good too. That's what the Asian people do. Asian women do that.
That's what this reminds me of.
So let's look at this. Let's look at this a little further now. So we were saying that if a woman is under stress and going through severe menopausal symptoms, there's a possibility that bones are not being supported. So then we would make a formula to put that in. We would also include this herb, which is called eucommia bark.
Eucommia.
This is the very first herb ever listed in the earliest known pharmacopoeia of herbology in China. And look at this. It kind of looks like a ligament, doesn't it? Kind of looks like a...
It's got stretchy, it's got fine lines and
wow. This is the #1 herb for bone, tendon, and ligament support in all Chinese herbology. And so we can make a formula that has the wild yam, and then this to support bone, function, just all the bone and tendon and ligament.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, this herb is called Dujiang in its Chinese name, and then now we've got the hormone support for the bones. Now we've got actual bone support itself. Now, what we also want to do in the case of menopause, we said we've got to reduce the stress. Now, the interesting thing is, so there are herbs that the Chinese have found over the centuries that can help buffer those stress mechanisms when they come to us. We can be like, we have two options in life. When the stress triggering mechanism comes, we can go, oh no, like that, right?
Yeah.
Or we can go.
I prefer that. Right? I prefer that because they're coming at you all the time.
Yes, and the latter is the healthy way that we must go. If we are susceptible and vulnerable, then we're not living in our fullest.
Are you going to talk about Romani or who?
I will. This herb right here, Bizia flower, I mentioned, is said to help a person overcome heartbreak, anxiety, and stress. So it relieves stress on the heart.
Heartbreak, anxiety, and stress.
Yes, it relieves stress on the heart. You combine it's the hard albizia flower.
Albizia.
Yeah. Now this is longan. This nourishes the heart and blood. So to nourish the heart, this is dongguai because our women can at all ages can be supporting blood building, and this is a wonderful herb for building blood. So we put that into the formula.
It smells good.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It smells like the earth. It's incredible.
I want to brew this.
Yeah. You can have this afterward. You can make a formula. You can make this. Now, then, also, the kidneys are really important in maintaining our vitality and our youthfulness. So when we start to reach that stage in our life, we have options. We have allies to help us remain youthful and vital. And so those are Ho Shou Wu, the great herb of longevity, which they say can actually help a person maintain their hair pigment, keep their hair pigment.
Ho Shou Wu.
And I need to take more. I'm getting a little gray in there.
I actually think your hair got darker. You actually look more vital and even better than the last time. So you've improved.
I've been being told that now for the last 2 or 3 years, 3 or 4 years.
I see it.
It's because I'm getting more into my integrity too.
Yes.
More raw green juicing, raw food, more tonic elixirs,
I see it.
And walking my talk, and so thank you.
I see it.
And so this one is a youth and longevity herb, Ho Shou Wu.
It's funny, it's spelled H-E, but it sounds like it should
be H-O. It can be either way.
It's not. It's spelled
sometimes it's H-E, sometimes it's H-O.
Okay. Okay, cool.
And so this one is really great for youth and longevity, because the kidneys need to be supported during this time, this shift. And kidneys are like this gold ball we want to nourish and put gold in there for our life, for our long lives, and that's one of those.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, we're really blessed to be able to know this, so that this is great information, and we have Shaman Shack to order from. We have Romania if we're lucky enough to get a consultation with. And
ShamanShackHerbs.com, and you can always email there, and then my partner Bryn there always forwards the email to me, and I love answering emails. I love answering questions.
You're so good at it. The last video we had over 150,000, maybe 60,000 views, and I think he was answering pretty much everybody who had something to say. And it was pretty cool. Like, you were really.
I'm a Libra. I like people. I like to communicate with people. I like to hear from people.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I love that you did that.
So yeah, that's it in a
Chinese year of the.
What are we in? We're in
But you are. What are you?
Oh, I'm a rooster.
Right.
I look like a rooster.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
I think so.
That's so awesome. More camera time for you.
So all the periods of our life are greatly empowering periods. We have the right and we have the option to take our power during that time. The matriarchs and patriarchs of our society are very important, because you want the grandchildren to be able to crawl into grandpa or grandma's lap and hear a tall tale, right? And you want the grandchildren, Grandma, tell me another tall tale of your treks through the Afghanistan, treks through the Himalayas,
Right.
And so, and you want Grandpa to have a lot of what we call Jing, Grandma to have a lot of this.
Can you explain Jing to everybody who doesn't know what Jing is?
Jing is the accumulated substance of life. It's your cells, and it's the integrity of your cells, and it's your capacity to reproduce. It's an organism's capacity to thrive and to reproduce. A healthy offspring is called Jing. It's housed in the kidneys. It's an epigenetic energy that comes from your great-grandparents primarily, to your grandparents, your parents, and it's held in your kidneys. So everything they were doing, everything they were saying, is got this imprint in your kidneys, and it's a genetic imprint. And it is partly your power. If they were living in a disempowerment, bad diet, poor health, you inherit some of that, and then you have to work harder to overcome that. If they lived on the land, they got sun, they grew their own food, they were robust, you have a robust, and then you can handle the stresses of life better. You're more adaptable, you have healthier children. When those stress mechanisms come, you can be like, come on, right?
That's hardier. It's what I call a hardy person, but a hardy person has good gene, strong gene.
Jing is that's the root of their hardiness. These are Jing herbs. These herbs put gold in that bank. You combine this with living food, organically grown, close to you, picked right, or grown in your backyard, which is ideal. Well sourced, your fats, your proteins, your starches. For your dietary needs, combine it with elixirs that go deeper. These are perennial plants that have more complex phytochemistry. They go deeper. They support the bones. They support the kidneys. They support filtering blood. They nourish the heart. Combine those with living food. And my mantra is, that is the most empowering dietary regimen we can have. Living food, properly sourced, and a diverse cornucopia. Don't limit your foods to a few staple items. That is contraindicated in, like Jared Diamond wrote, that the hunter-gatherers of long ago, when we look at their paleontological sites, we don't see any disease. Perfect teeth all the teeth in the skull, perfectly formed dental arches. As soon as agriculture shows up, 12,000 BC or so, people started to reduce their diet to a few staple foods, even though they were growing them in super diamagnetically charged soil with nutrients in the soil, and they were organic, and even still, that's where disease shows up, is because they limited their food choices. So with us, it's about as diverse a cornucopia as we can get. I juice weeds and stuff. I like to
weeds are really good.
I juice lamb's quarters and grass. I'll pull a weed out of the ground, keep the roots and everything.
It would be cool to do a video where I come to where you are and you start pulling stuff, because people can find things in their own areas. That's really inspiring. Yeah.
So I wrote about a lot of this stuff in my book, Healing Thresholds. I have another fictional story that I channeled. Actually, it was channeled by a spirit entity named Shin. I'm just the manager of the book. I just help manifest it. And this is a highly educational book too, which I'm very excited about because it's inspirational too. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, this is good how-to information, but this places the information into a context of adventure, which is our lives are an adventure, right?
Yeah, they are. They ought to be. We're out there living them, right?
I know.
That's the point, is don't be scared of the stress. Be out there, you know, living.
Yeah, that's right. That is a mechanism of our long-term survival is how we overcome things that could be there in order to stress us. They're challenges in life, you know.
This is wonderful. I mean, this is just, I can hear the questions. I think, but what about this? And what should a woman do? And basically make these brews, eat raw food, stand in her power, limit stress.
Yeah.
Any advice on relationships at that particular, what's it like for a woman who is reaching, because a lot of women at that age start to think, well, you know. You
know, again, I believe it's placed in by the Master Gardener as part of the plan. When a woman reaches that age, she does get a little part male energy in there. The voice drops a little bit, the hair gets a little thicker. That's because, as I said, she has to govern the whole clan now. She has to be able to. And so a female becomes a little bit, a postmenopausal woman becomes a little bit androgynous. She is mainly female, of course, but part male too. So at that point, you get the woman going, I don't need those men.
I love when I hear that.
I need those guys.
Yeah. That's right, and they really mean it. It's not like they're saying it because they're hurt by men or anything like that. They're just like, yeah, I don't really need that right now. Anyway, but we're all at all the different stages of life. Just be empowered and take care of yourself. That's the whole. And every single stage can be fun.
Yep, absolutely.
That's what I think. So.
I say it's the best period. When they call it the golden years, I say it's true. You know, I'm getting in there. I'm getting the golden years, and I feel the best I've ever felt.
Right.
I look at photographs of myself when I was 21. I look sunken and sallow.
Right.
You know, it's like,
yeah.
You know.
You could feel better. That's the whole point. Like, you could keep feeling better and better.
You can.
Step into your power. So I just want to thank you so much for popping over today. Really, we did well.
Yeah.
Serendipitous and perfect. So I will post any links below. We look forward to your comments, and Romani will be answering. I'm a year of the horse. I gallop on. And keep going.
Okay. All right. Good. That's perfect.
Yeah, you can stay in the light. Anyway, is there anything else you want to share?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, you're beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. All right, you guys, get your greens on, get your herbal tonics on, and we'll see you really soon.